Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Oliver. I'm reporting from a bunker, Studio 72, in the lovely Arleta neighborhood, People's Republic of Portland, Oregon, I like to call it. And I want to do just some random thoughts that I was having about politics. But before I do that, I want to give a little heads up on some Astro aspects that have got my spidey sense creeping. I'm actually quite concerned. So I'm kind of giving in Astro aspects, stranger danger, and quite possibly pending doom. So if that sounds exciting, buckle up. Let's listen here to Highlight Tribe. Highlight Tribe, Solar Eclipse. They call this one Solar Eclipse. 7 years ago this one was cut. I think it's Yoda from Star Wars. Reverse Jedi mind trick. Boy, I don't know. Some trippy dude in there saying something. Highlight Tribe Official. They hashtagged it organic trance. It's kind of trancey. Not bad for a 7-minute song. But it's actually pretty cool. It's like the third or fourth time I've heard a segment of it, just setting up this this little thing here. So what I'm looking at is, well, I have to be honest. I have to go back a couple of weeks. There was. I think it was Rick Levine. He's an old timer up in Seattle that great Grand Astro Master recommended him. I think she's been following him for years. She may even have known him because she's lived up there in Seattle for quite a while. But so she recommended him, and he's not very charismatic, but he is pretty spot on. Accuracy matters. He's an older guy. When it comes to astrology, I like the older folks. And he said some things I didn't agree with how he was laying it out, but just the fact that he was talking about that these interplanetary interactions were happening. So I had a heads up like a month ago, or a couple more weeks for this month. Like I think he does, I think it was the 1st of October. Seems like it was longer than that, but it could be time traveling. I don't know. Are you time traveling? I might be time traveling. Speaking of that, I make my own iced tea. So what really stood out just briefly here is October. So we're in Leo, the moon's in Leo, which can be problematic. But so this Saturday, we're looking at 2:37 p.m. West Coast Surfer time. It is October 19th. So October 22nd, Saturn goes direct. Now, that can be a pretty big effing deal. It just depends on where people's prenatal charts are, where they were, where they're at, what signs they have, what's going on. But Saturn is a pretty heavy hitter. You don't want to underestimate it. So that's at 9:07. That goes into that. Let me turn that off before it gives us another freebie. So there's the first little click, click, Saturday evening. Then Sunday things start to look pretty intense. Venus clicks into Scorpio. Okay? And if you know anything about me, I have a severe allergic reaction to Scorpio. Should be noted, I'm a Taurus. It's the exact opposite, my sun sign. I'm actually a triple Gemini with 3 different planets in Gemini, but that's a whole nother story. So Scorpio is the exact opposite. I tend to attract a lot of Scorpios, and Scorpios are beautiful, seductress creatures. And I've had a number of Scorpio BFFs. Well, that's probably not true either. But there is something to be said about opposites attracting, So, and I have known a couple of Scorpios, but they probably weren't BFFs, but there is an attraction there. But I am severely allergic to it here in my old age. So Venus is the goddess of love. That's also relationships. That going into Scorpio at 12:52 a.m. West Coast Surfer time should be a heads up. That's going to feel like Saturday night, right? It's the middle of the morning, but Sunday. So then you've got the sun goes into Scorpio at 3:36 a.m. Sunday the 23rd. Again, that's all going to feel like this weekend. That's all going to affect this weekend. All of these things happening just because they have an exact hour and a minute. It's days ahead and days before, which would put us in real time right now, a couple of days before, right? Right. So, and then there's Juno goes direct as well, which I think that's a moon. I'm sorry, it might be one of the comets. I'm sorry about that. I should know better than that. So then you've got Monday and then Sunday. So that's already a double scoops of Scorpio that could kill you. That could kill a man. That's stronger than a fentanyl overdose in my book. New moon, October 25th. New moon. So you got the new moon in Scorpio. Now, new moons, the dark moon, it doesn't necessarily mean it's negative or satanic or Luciferian, but I would probably say yes. No, I don't know. But it's the new moon, and which can be just as powerful as the full moon. And I always say that because when I was told that, it really clicked and made sense to me. A lot of this Astro stuff, it's really hard to digest, a lot of it for me, and probably a lot of you. A lot of people reject it, this pseudoscience of astrology and astronomy. It's closely connected. But it's also a solar eclipse. It's a 2-degree in Scorpio. Tuesday the 25th. Solar eclipse. New moon. Scorpio. Venus. Scorpio. Sun. Scorpio. Moon. Scorpio. It's hide. If you're so lucky to have constructed or purchased a bunker, go into that bunker now, and don't come out until you're told to come out, which could be 2 weeks. So no, I don't know if it's that bad, but it's pretty serious. I mean, as far as Scorpio goes, that's going to affect people's mental health. And then you factor in things like the solar flares, the coronal mass ejections that are happening. The sun is unhinged right now. Unhinged in Scorpio. Scorpio, the big payback. It's like Q James Brown. It's the big payback. That's Scorpio, man. It's the stinger. It's the revenge. It's payback. And then with Venus, the relationships. We're going to see domestic. We're going to see probably the things that get attention is celebrity domestic violence. So I'll anticipate that. I'll even say that on the record. We're going to be looking for domestic violence, probably through the whole weekend. But that's Tuesday the 25th. So heads up, man. Then Jupiter's going into, it clicks in, it's been in retro. We've had a bunch of these big gas giants, a bunch of these big dog players all retrograde, so that feeling of things going backwards, and that can create anxiety. And but you know, like I was going to finish my thought there for a second with the coronal mass injections, there's also, right, the big mRNA booster coronal mass ejections from Pfizer, right? You didn't know Pfizer was giving CMEs. Well, lordy, 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 they have been. So you've got that, which can create some electromagnetic energy as well. I believe there's nanoparticulates in that, on top of whatever nanoparticulates we're eating, consuming, breathing from the openly confessed what do they call it? The radiation management. That's the deflection of solar rays. They're openly talking about it, that's what they're doing, and want to do a lot more about that. Bill Gates has been a big one on it. And those particulates, graphene and things that go into our bodies, not good. Not good, right? I mean, basically, we're golf clubs during a mass lightning storm. We're just solid metal. So all of that, with the Scorpio, which I have a personal bias, I'm open with that personal bias. I always have been and said it. It's a huge issue for me. It affects me. I feel the energy of that Scorpio intensity. Scorpio people are intense people. It's probably why I like them, or at least originally I'm initially drawn to them. I like intensity. I'm an intense person, if you didn't notice. Don't you say a damn word. But and then Mars goes retrograde on the 30th for November, December, until the mid of January. Mars, the god of war, with all this Scorpio, revenge, payback, could be Putin's revenge, it could be British revenge. There's been a lot of revenge already in play. Yes, it's going to get worse. Yes, that's going to get more intense. I predict probably some sort of massive, potentially life-threatening interaction with missiles when Mars goes tits up like that. And it's, like I said, it's days before and days after, maybe a week before, a week after, when these planets in these different aspects click. So that's that, okay? And heads up, because I don't often do the big alert, head to your bunkers, incoming tactical ballistic missiles. I don't normally do that. In fact, I rarely do that. I'm doing that now. And I just said a couple of weeks in advance, I'm sure I'll do some cheesy little dipshit video like I'm doing right now about politics. So, alright, so let me see if I can get my brain out of that Astro and into what I wanted to talk about with the politics. Now, we've got local, county and city, state, and then the national politics. And one of the things that I wanted to give with my independent perspective and my lens is that it's very critical, it's very important on the perspectives to everyone, that whatever power changes happen, that change is taking the benefit of it. Someone takes advantage of it for the better of the whole, for the better of the community, for the better of everyone, not just for the better of the party name, not just for the better of the party brand. You know, I mean, these seats here at Portland City Council are supposed to be nonpartisan, right? Most people assume, and most people are right to assume, that Democrats are controlling most of what happens in this city. Definitely in this county, we have 5 women seated at Multnomah County Commissioners that all hate men, all hate Portland, all hate America, and they're all Marxist communists, right? Well, I don't know if that's true, but it feels that way. And so that on the state level, we've had that dictation and controlling. It looks like to me, and God, I hope it happens, we're so due for a power change, that Christine Drazan, is going to take the governor's mansion on the 8th. That's the other thing. On the 8th, there happens to be, I forgot to mention this, sorry to have to retract real quick, but it's a full moon on election day, a lunar eclipse in a full moon on Taurus. A lunar eclipse on a full moon on election day? What could go wrong? What could go wrong? That's November 8th. So, sorry, that was a very critical piece. So, we're talking about the next couple of weeks. We're really talking about the next 3 weeks. Solar eclipse and lunar eclipses on election day. It's this is gonna get dicey. So prepare yourself. Stock the bar. Renew your Xanax prescription or whatever it is. Mine like valerian teas. Valerian's wonderful. Also with I've been doing what's the one? The turmeric. So I've been mixing these turmeric teas in with the valerians and stuff, and it's awesome. Really awesome. You can add sweeteners. I like lemon. I'm out of lemons, unfortunately. But so with the politics, that's we got the dance floor is aligned for some crazy shit. I mean, you can't get any crazier than on election day a lunar eclipse with the full moon, and then with this 25th Tuesday coming up, God, it just heads up, all right? I don't want to say anything direct. I've already said too much. I already said way too much direct. But it does need to be said. I like to try to feel like at least I gave people a heads up when the shit hits the fan, and it's hitting it. It's coming on hard. And that Rick Levine guy was talking about a bunch of other stuff. Okay, so let me digress. So with the politics, so we've got Christina Drazan. It's really critical that if she does win, she does take the governor's mansion, she needs to capitalize off that. She needs to be an opportunist and make things happen. Not just pull some sort of power play, power trip, not just recommend more prisons and do more law and order, just law and order. Law and orders we're going to need. It's going to happen, but I'm saying do what's best for the community as a whole. That's outside of being Democrat, outside of being Republican, outside of being independent or whatever. Communist, whatever you fucks call yourselves. So it's very important. And on the national level, the same thing is very, very true. I keep getting these messages, the signals, this kind of a jamming radar. I don't know what you want to call it. I don't know how to explain it. But it's very easy to predict. You don't need to be a gypsy poem or a psychic poem reader to figure this one out. But you've got rhinos, you've got establishment Republicans and establishment Democrats that are going to try to make backroom deals. So if the House it looks like the House is gonna flip back into GOP, and maybe the Senate and Biden's going to be in trouble. So with that happening, which I'm also praying that happens, because we need to put the Democrats in check. There has to be some movement and some things done. Not just committees. Committees need to happen. Not just committee. Not just investigations. Not just special counsel. All those things, you better fucking do at least that. But not just that. We need to see major shifting. We got to go into a serious dialogue of abolishing and eliminating the FBI as we know it. That sounds radical, but I hear people talking about it on all the mainstream talking heads. So how radical could that be if they're talking about it on mainstream talking heads programs? It needs to happen. The FBI is completely unhinged, and it's not just them. Unfortunately, the CIA has gone in the back door and adulterated the FBI. That's really technically what we're looking at. So we've got the globalists there that are all a part of that, right? Naturally, the CIA is a globalist identity that likes control in their little hands. They're the totalitarian. That's communism, is this small little elite that's got all the goody goo-goos. Everyone else is just treated like rubbish, kicked to the curb, or put into ovens and killed. Okay? So there has to be that understanding to connect with the voters and the people for peace. Because we've been at the brink as close to civil war that I've ever experienced or been aware of in my 50 years of existence, which isn't a whole long time in the big picture, but I haven't seen us at that point. we can turn it around. We're at that point where I don't think we're beyond the point of return. Some argue that we are. They might be right on some things. They might be right. And this is really the breaking point. If we can't restore confidence in the public with this midterm, if tsunami, red tsunami, whatever these guys whatever you want to call it, then we're in serious trouble, and we're gonna be seeing violence. We're gonna see civil war. I don't want any of that. I don't want any of that. I've never wanted any of that. Ever since 2020 with the summer of love, right? Mostly peaceful, as the CNN reporter has, 30 foot, 3-story flames over his corner of his shoulder. He's saying it's mostly peaceful out here. As Arby's burns, Wendy's burns, all the rest of it burns. That's not peaceful. That's bullshit. And that's gaslighting. And that's a huge part of why I believe the voters are coming to their senses. The people are finally, some of them are coming out of this mass formation hypnosis, this mass formation psychosis, political science psychosis, that they've been duped, and they're waking up and saying, you guys are still pushing poison jabby rooskies on our children when everyone else in the world that says don't take this shit ain't work, it's whack, don't take this shit. But here we are in the US pushing it. Here we are with Multnomah County pushing them. Oregon Health Authority pushing them. That's why we need another power, another energy that I think Drazon can produce. Now, there's a whole bunch of bungling goofballs here in Oregon that are Republican down in state legislature. You guys don't have a lot of common sense. Not everybody. And you have the potential to fuck things up real good. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because if you do that, it's going to screw things for the new governor, and it's going to tie her hands in ways, and it's going to do us the image of advancing forward with having a balance of power and sharing different ideologies in a functional state format. So it's real important that on a national level that sinks in the powers that be, if we can amplify that message in our own unique way to you folks with the platform, you folks that connect with tens of thousands of people. Let's relay that message. It should be obvious, but I think it needs to be stated, and I think it actually needs to be repeated. It's like people need repetition. You figure if they're being programmed through repetition, we have to deprogram them through repetition and the deprogramming. See? I'm not talking about necessarily reprogramming in the deprogramming, although maybe it is reprogramming after we deprogram the program. But I don't really look at it quite that way. I have to do some deeper thinking on it. But, and here locally, the best thing for Oregon, bringing peace and bringing prosperity, is to put these Democrat neoliberals in check and say, hey, you guys have had the keys, you've had the checking accounts, and you've screwed it up over and over and over again. All right? And so let's have some honest discussions, and let's see, instead of a big power control, let's struggle. Let's see some compromise and diplomacy on the city, county, national level, especially on the international stage for peace. I've never been so disgusted in my life than to see German Greens for the last 2 years pushing what looks like a potential World War III with Ukraine and Russia. The German Greens. And I mean, I could even pull that article up, and which I don't need to. But these German Greens, these guys, Robert Habeck, co-leader of the German Green Party, announced in late May that he would support the sale of defensive weapons to Ukraine. That article is from 2 years ago. So these guys have been sticking things where, well, actually that one comes in. Oh, that's the date from yesterday. When did that article get written? Doesn't actually say, but I know that that was from at least last year. So you got Haybeck with these greens. I mean, what the fuck is going on, man? Greens, our essential core key principle is peace, world peace, nonviolent, global peace, domestic peace, peace, peace. Third parties are supposed to be the diplomats. Third parties are supposed to be the peacemakers and the peacekeepers. Right? You look at your scripture, who inherits the kingdom of heaven? The peacemakers. The peacemakers. So it goes all the way back into biblical times. So why do we got neocons? Why do we have Democrats aligned with neocons? Why do we have the Lincoln Project and all these folks, Lindsey Graham and all the rest of these douches, fuck you, Lindsey, pushing this potential nuclear World War III, pushing massacre, pushing orphan children into dark orphan children future? It's not a pretty picture for orphans. It's one of the key dark things, ramifications of war. War creates orphan children. Can't help to think that that's a part of this globalist design and plan. So we're not going to eat bugs, and we're not going to be happy about people eating bugs. All right. So we have got to turn this train wreck around. We're looking at tens of millions of people starving from ill-conceived, advanced, totally miscalculated and adulterated Green New Deal, which has always meant cutting the military's fuel. They're the number one polluter, number one consumer of fossil fuels. That's in large part what that's meant. And they're doing the exact opposite. And the Democrats are just rooting right along with it. I was so glad to see somebody finally push back. That's because Ocasio AOC, Rep AOC, Sandy, best margarita in New York, Sandy finally got some hecklers. And I don't want her to be heckled, but it's like she has done us a major injustice to the Green Party's brand. She stole the messaging, stole the platform. Bernie started it, and Bernie probably handed it to her, but that's how the Democrats did that. They hijacked that and adulterated the plan to leave out cutting the military spending and cutting the military's fuel consumption. They left all of that out, and now we're looking at World War III. World War III, simply from a bunch of arrogant, controlled tools that have abused our peace platform and peace mantra. Where's the U.S. Greens? Where's the state Greens? We've been obliterated. We've been nuked. We've been nuked. We should be out in front demanding peace, and we're demolished. We've been demolished by these Democrat operatives that have come in and taken over in the states. In my state right here, Democrat operatives came in, very slick, took over, demolished the peace plan, had us actually working for Democrat campaigns. Black Lives Matter is Act Blue fundraising scam. It is what it is. The facts are the facts. Truth is the truth. So, I think I've gone on long enough. Heads up on the Astro aspects. It's no joke. I'm very, very concerned about it. The first major turbulence is coming this weekend, and then we've got the 25th, which is Tuesday. October 25th is the new moon solar eclipse, 2 degrees in Scorpio, with Scorpio moon, with Venus freshly clicking into Scorpio. Lordy, lordy, lordy. It's a scorpion's nest. Politically, could be emotionally, it could be psychologically, relationships. I mean, if you're in a troubled relationship right now, you feel like things could be sketchy or dicey or dangerous, get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. Get the fuck out now for at least a week. At least a week. 2 weeks if you could afford it. Or just relocate. For good. For good. Get out of there. If she's nuts, she's really going to get nuts this next week. If he's dangerous, it's going to get bloody. So I hate to be cryptid and dark like that, but it is what it is. That is what the solar system does. That is what the stars do. That's what Earth does. That's what nature does. It's life and death, and then rebirth, and then life, and then death, and then maybe rebirth again. I don't know. Do you believe in rebirth? Maybe no rebirth. Life and death? Maybe you don't believe in life and death. I don't know. That's on you. Anyway, be safe. Take care. Hope that all made sense. Peace out.